It's been almost a 4-year process since the first conversations, but The Clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox, finally dropped on Netflix this week. It's another Red Sox doc for the platform after the comeback focused on that 2004 championship season when that hit Netflix in the fall. But this was an ambitious effort. 8 episodes covering the course of the entire 2024 season. And here to help us dive into the process behind it all is Andrew Fried of Boardwalk Pictures. And he was an executive producer on the film. Andrew, welcome into the SBJ Sports Media Pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're obviously no stranger to this sports documentary space. Welcome to Wrexham, Last Chance U, 7 Days Out, Far From Home. Too many to really list here. But covering a 162-game season, some spring training in there as well, that's a slog. Was this effort really unique in the sense of the length of the season?
Oh, it's definitely a unique exercise, right? Especially in today's media landscape, where we think of everything being more efficient and faster and cheaper and turning around so fast, right? Like just the fact that we're watching something that took place a whole year ago, it's a unique opportunity for audiences and a unique challenge for storytellers to bring audiences in, 12 months at least, if not more, from when the action took place. Yes, a logistical and practical challenge as well, but that's sort of the initial conceit of these projects that Greg Whiteley, who is my partner on this, who's the director and executive producer of The Clubhouse, as well as a lot of other shows that we've done together, Last Chance U, Cheer, America's Sweethearts. When he goes full on. And so it is always going to be the most intimate level of access, the most honest lens on something. And so if it was going to be baseball, it was going to be 162 games.
Well, I guess that kind of hits at our next question. What was the reaction from LMB when you showed this to them?
Look, I think it's tricky working with these major entities, right? Whether we're dealing with the Dallas Cowboys on one of those projects, if we're dealing with Major League Baseball. Again, I think we're in this unique window in media history where everything's changing. Even leagues that are so used to controlling messages and having, final cut to the frame. And so these are conversations and partnerships that evolve over time. And when you're working on behalf of a company like Netflix and with Major League Baseball, and there's a whole lot of things that go into it. And so my hope is that it's generally exciting. There's probably a little bit of fear as there is in just vulnerability and the idea that, they're not controlling this the way leagues are used to controlling every frame of something traditionally. But yeah, I think generally there's a lot of excitement for the level of storytelling and the platform that it gives baseball.
Andrew, given the day in, day out nature of baseball, very few breaks, as a documentarian, does that make it, or did it make it harder or easier to create a series like this, just given that everyday access?
The thing that's wonderful about these sports stories, and as you mentioned, we've done it across a bunch of different sports, be it soccer in Wales or junior college football, etc. These seasons have a beginning and an end. You know that the season is going to end. You know that the clock is going to expire. Not in baseball, obviously, but
there is a pitch clock now, so
they're
actually part of that conversation.
Pitch clocks aside, there's going to be a buzzer. You know that there's going to be a winner and a loser, and so I think that that's part of the recipe of what makes sports storytelling so compelling and so ripe to bring new people in. You always hear of the co-viewing, and I hear both sides, right? I think there are certainly lots of men who are surprised that their partners are as engaged in shows that we do and other shows, whether it be Hard Knocks or Welcome to Wrexham or something like that. We've seen the other side of it too with Cheer, where you see the likes. I think JJ Watt, when Cheer initially came out, JJ Watt came out and was just like totally consumed with Cheer and sort of giddy with excitement about it. So we know what's going to happen. We know that there's beginning, middle, and end. We've seen sports movies. We've gone. We have some understanding of how these things work. And so against that backdrop, you're able to tell really, really dramatic stories. The stakes are built in. I think it's exciting for the audience. I think that it's a huge opportunity for audiences to understand what it means to be a baseball player. differently than maybe we've seen. When I started to see the cuts that Greg was creating for the Clubhouse, my greatest excitement was I have fraternity brothers from college, and I went to a D3 school, but a bunch of them were baseball players. And it's just a different religion. And so I became so excited that my friends from college who played baseball will see this, because I really think that we got it in a way that is different, especially baseball. Football, obviously, we know 16, 17 weeks, or basketball season is long, but still there's a framework to it. Baseball, the beauty is in the grind. And I think we've captured that.
Andrew, you touched on this a little bit. So I'm a Yankees fan. Like, I've gone to Yankees games every year since I was 4 years old. My dad's from the Bronx. Why were the Red Sox the right brand for this docuseries? And how are you bringing in the casual viewer?
I think that Netflix has been pretty upfront about saying what their sports strategy is, right? As I understand it, the Netflix strategy is going to be far more about investing in specific fan bases rather than grabbing all the league rights to all the sports and paying all the billions and billions of dollars for that. We've experienced what that means with our show, America's Sweethearts, just to see that a show about cheerleading, how that can tap into the Dallas Cowboys fan base, and then start with that as a nucleus, see the passion through that level of audience, and then let it sort of expand from there to a more casual viewer. It's in the storytelling, right? The universality of it all, and the reason audiences connect to it is because of how specific it is. But we see that with the Boston Red Sox, right? Like, the fan base for Boston, and I grew up in New York. My dad, who turns 92 later this month, was very confused and surprised and didn't even really know what to do emotionally with the fact that we're doing this show and it's the Red Sox. There is a fan base, there is a rabid and loyal fan base. And I think that's probably what attracted all of us to the Red Sox initially.
I mean, happy birthday to your dad. And I also will say, for Dallas, at my sister's bachelorette last summer, we did watch the cheer show, and I was like, what are we doing? They loved it.
The fan base, you're absolutely right. Like, so many Dallas Cowboys fans out there. And if you look at the numbers on Netflix, that did better than the NFL's actual docuseries Receiver, America's Sweethearts, especially in the second half of 2024, outdrew what the NFL's docuseries was able to get. So it does speak to the power of that brand.
Again, I'm not in these meetings, and most of this has nothing to do with me, but you do see that the Cowboys played on Christmas Day. There's another big Cowboys doc coming out later this year, I think they announced.
Yep, the Jerry Jones one, yeah.
That does make sense strategically to me. It does make sense that, Boston is now an area of emphasis, and, who knows who'll be next.
All right, Andrew, some quick hitters to finish things off. Can we expect a season 2 of the Clubhouse? I know it's early. And have there been any teams reaching out or discussions about who might potentially fill that spot?
We are in a different media landscape now, where shows really aren't renewed until they perform, right? Data is so important to all of these distribution companies that they can't really make decisions before there is data to look at. I don't want to break news or anything, but you can imagine that the baseball season has already started and our show has not aired. And so the idea that there's going to be a very immediate next season of the Clubhouse is not in the cards. But our hope is that the success of this show can find us in another Clubhouse and another spring training soon. It's no longer the situation that shows new television shows launch in September, and the calendar is far more malleable and dynamic than I think it once was. And so if this show is successful, I would say the same thing about any show, right? If it finds an audience and people connect with it, and it's successful in that way, then I would be excited to make many more of them, and we'll just have to see where.
Are there too many sports documentaries in the space right now? Like, Austin and I go back and forth about this. Like, he's watching constantly, and I'm like, I'm watching Netflix. I don't know what you're talking about. Are there too many?
No. Watch the great ones. There's such great work out there. I'm very proud of our work, and I think that at Boardwalk, we're putting shows and films out that are a certain level, and I'm a fan of them as much as I'm part of the creative team that makes them. And there's lots of other work out there that is great. I think that we're in this sort of golden era of this type of storytelling. And for me, it's exciting because it creates greater levels of access, right? When all these docs are being made, then people want in, and the sort of the table stakes are higher in terms of the level of access and vulnerability that we can get. The closer we can get to these characters, the better they are. But no, I'm a sports fan. I never set out to have a company that necessarily focused on sports, but the storytelling is just irresistible.
All right, you say you're a sports fan, so that kind of is a good segue to our last question. What subject matter in sports do you really want to tackle in a documentary or docuseries?
It's a combination of like the Wayback Machine and the not Wayback Machine, right? Like there's things right now that are so interesting to me because things are just evolving and changing, and the opportunities that we have in women's sports, the way that uh, fan base connects with the athletes in a totally different and intimate way, like that connection. I'm a connection junkie like that. That is so exciting to me, and like how that storytelling can convert differently with that particular relationship as it tends to exist, right? There's some people who watch women's sports just the way as they watch sports, but as a father of a daughter and just seeing the way young women connect with the athletes that they look up to, like I'm jealous of some of the storytelling that's happening in that space. I can't believe that the Paralympics come along every 2 years, and it used to not be a thing, and now it's, brands and advertisers have obviously included those athletes in their marketing plans, but it's still just shocking to me that that's not more mainstream entertainment when it comes around. So those are my two answers.
Well, the docuseries is perfectly timed as a complement to the start of baseball season. The Clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox on Netflix. Andrew Fried of Boardwalk Pictures, congrats on the film, and thanks for joining the SBJ Sports Media Pod.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.